Well, here we go. Welcome to BackChat. I feel like we're out of practice a little bit. Haven't been in this seat for a little while.
Like a month since we've had a guest.
Very excited to have this guest with us, though. Tash Rigby, the captain of the Perth Glory. How are you, mate?
I'm very good. How are you guys?
Very good.
Splendid.
Now, this podcast is powered by Fleet Network, very good partners of ours. We speak a little bit about cars in this podcast, but we're not going to get there first. The first question we ask, it's the same with every guest. We ask your greatest sporting achievement, not on the soccer field. We know you can play soccer, right? Or football. We're going to call it football. We know you can play soccer, right? We know you're captain of Perth Glory. We know that, right? And
We're going soccer pitch.
For right now, I'm going to say we don't care. Well, we do care, but we don't. Soccer pitch. Not
Is it
on
a pitch or a field? What do you prefer?
Yeah, the field. Yeah, on the field.
Not
yeah.
on the soccer field.
Yep.
Dan's greatest sporting achievement, he took 5 for 16 in under 12s match in cricket.
Grand final. Yeah.
I was the under 9 state hurdling champion, 80-metre hurdles.
Love that.
Questionable whether or not the hurdles were actually hurdles. We like knowing what people can do out of their chosen sport. So your greatest sporting achievement, not on the soccer field.
That's huge. Growing up, I loved athletics. Like, I literally lived for Faction Day. That was my favourite
Now we're
day.
talking.
And, like, I was the one that was like, everyone was like, oh, yeah, I was in every single event trying my hardest.
What colour?
Green. All the way.
What colour were you?
I was a red.
I was yellow.
Oh, huge. There you go.
Yellow? What school did you go to that had
Yeah,
yellow?
yeah, yellow. Yellow's legit. Margaret River
critical.
had yellow. We
Very
didn't have
critical
cricket
to
Okay,
game.
sorry. Sorry, keep going, please.
Yeah, so I would say I just lived for Faction Days. I also, growing up in Margaret River, did quite a bit of surfing when I was younger. I spent a lot of time at the beach. I wasn't very good,
I was
but
going to say,
I
spend any
absolutely
time
loved it.
in the green room or just
In the green room. Shuckers, bro. I actually just caught up with Flick Palmatier down south.
Can surf?
Yes, for the trophy tour. And she obviously was a very good surfer, so we went 2 different pathways.
So, okay, you say you like faction, but what are we talking? Are you winning the 800? Are you winning the 100?
Champion girl.
Champion girl. That
Huge.
was, yeah. But I love the 400, which is weird because that's like the lactic acid race, they say, and I absolutely loved it. So, yeah, that was my favourite.
Well done. So the champion girl, what are we talking about? Like year 3, year 2?
Oh, yeah.
6?
All the way through, too.
Right, so you're
Back to back. Just
Yeah. But high school, we went to inter-school, loved inter-school. That was when we went to Bunbury and got to play all the other schools and compete against the other schools. And we were like the only school that would run barefoot.
So-
Like, we didn't have proper spikes or anything. Like, we would literally just run with no shoes
like, here
on.
comes the Margaret River kids. So you grew up in Margaret River.
I did, yes.
What was your first car? Can you remember that? Did you have one down there or was it when you moved up here?
And that was the only other time that I ran out of fuel was in my Ford Fiesta.
So Tash was telling us as she sat down here, she was very close to running out of fuel on the way here. You're a red liner type.
Yeah, I like to live
go
live on the
below.
edge.
Go below the line.
So-
Oh, no, it's flashing.
It's
It's
a
red
Ford
flashing.
Fiesta. What did you say?
Ford Fiesta.
Ford
I
Fiesta,
think
colour,
that's it. It was blue, light blue. Crashed it.
baby blue.
Yeah, I've
Crashed
crashed 3 cars.
No.
That sounds like a rogue
No,
operator.
I'm such a bad driver.
No fuel. Just bad driver.
So you've grown up in Margaret River. What's family life? What's childhood like for you? You're an elite athlete now.
Yeah.
How do you get to that? What's growing up like?
Growing up was amazing, and like I credit so much of like who I am to my childhood. Margaret River is such an amazing place. Like, it's so beautiful, but it also has such an amazing community. And I think that taught me a lot about like connection. And I've tried to carry that through in my character as well. So growing up, I played soccer, but I didn't soccer, football, I don't know, whatever you want to call
Soccer.
it.
We're soccer here.
Are we soccer here? Yeah, of course we are. I played soccer from the age of 10, which in the football soccer world is quite a late age to start. And I started just because I had way too much energy and my mum was like, she needs to do something in the winter. And shit, that was like the closest sport. So we did that. And there was only an all boys team. So I joined an all boys team and absolutely fell in love with it. So yeah, since then, it's been a weird and crazy journey. I never, ever thought I would be captaining Glory. It's still so wild to me every day, and I'm so grateful for it. But, yeah, it's been a very long journey.
Do you have siblings?
I do. I have a younger brother.
Is he sporty?
No, he's, like, creative. He's, like, incredibly creative.
So your mum and dad are a librarian and a writer, is that right?
What?
it right?
How did you know that?
This is our job.
Very
Research.
good. Weird though.
Yeah, correct. So,
The internet's a
Yes,
thing. Like,
yes.
You can find anything out on the internet.
so I mean, you should be, you should be on the creative path, right?
Well, my whole family are in like media and journalism. And it's so weird that I'm not. Like Reese, my brother, he just got his first full-time gig with Channel 9. And I'm so proud of him.
Reese.
But yeah, shout out. But yeah, I think, I don't know, I just fell in love with sport and that's where I ended up going.
So you said you've basically just thrown into a soccer team because you had too much energy growing up and you weren't surfing, so we needed to give you something else to do. Do you start loving it then, or are you just like, this is fun, I like being in a team, I like... And is it is it a girls' team? Is it a mixed team? Is it like...
It was boys until, and like this is huge because now that has changed. There is an all-girls team down there now, but there was only boys at the time, and I did fall in love with it. And I credit this to my coach because he treated me no differently to any of the other boys, and I think it really helped in my development and growth as a player because like the speed and the physicality of like playing with the boys from a young age kind of helped me develop that really quick, and I had to keep up, and it also made me quite resilient as well. So yeah, then I ended up being selected for state teams from the age of 15 to 17, and then after that I didn't even know Perth Glory existed because like I don't know, the pathway wasn't very clear when I was growing up either, and I just went to uni, started playing in the state league here, and then I was like, oh my God, there's a professional team here. And I had no idea, and I was going to the games, like loving it. And then I got the opportunity to trial, and somehow I got into the team. So yeah.
Well, I think you're underselling your ability and your talents. Like
No.
somehow I'm in the team, somehow I haven't missed a
rock up
game in
as
about
point
1,000 games, somehow I'm the captain. Like you're underselling what you've been able to do. But if you pull it back to that talent pathway, I was going to ask, like, how does the kid surfer from Margaret River who's playing soccer because she's got too much energy? Like, what's the actual pathway? Like, what is the pathway for kids back then? Has it changed? Is it different now?
It hasn't changed much, to be honest. So the pathway for me to get identified to be playing at a state level, I went to Country Week, which was incredible, like my favourite week of the year as a kid, like going up to Perth, playing, sleeping over with like all your mates and just playing against all different rural and remote communities across WA. And I didn't even know, but there they have talent scouts. And so I was scouted there, and then I was offered the opportunity to go to country camp, and that's like all the best country kids go there. And then from there I was identified to play in the state team and go and represent WA in the national tournaments.
Do you have female sporting role models growing up, or is it
Great question. So I had no female footballing sporting role models because back then the visibility wasn't like it is today with all our amazing role models that we can see. But I did have Kathy Freeman, who I was like obsessed with, and also Lane Beachley, like being in a surfing town. And I loved like Lane because she was so unapologetically like fierce and like in everything she did in such a male-dominated sport as well. So yeah, those were my two, and I was so incredibly motivated by both of them. But yeah, no, not in the footballing world.
A little bit off like topic, but Lane Beachley, have you seen her speak recently and about her struggles she went through from a mental perspective, being the best in the world? Again, as a kid, you wouldn't have known that, but have you seen her speak?
Yeah,
like,
I have.
She's incredible.
Incredible, and her vulnerability.
Yep.
Is amazing to me, and I'm such a big fan of vulnerability. Shout out to Renee Brown. She's just like shaped my world. But yeah, she's someone that models that so amazingly, and to see an insight into what was really going on behind the scenes is incredible.
Does that surprise you? Are you like, well, yeah, that's pretty spot on, like top level, a lot of pressure, a lot of scrutiny?
100%. It doesn't surprise me. And I think like now as I've grown older and begun to like understand myself more and how and why certain behaviours develop, I'm just like so much more empathetic and understanding towards what everyone's having to deal with behind closed doors. Like you never know, and it's a big thing. Like on our training field, we try and encourage like someone might be having a bad day but you never know what that person's been through that day, that week, whatever. So you can't judge them on how they're behaving in that moment, we try and be really understanding and empathetic in that way, and that highlights that.
But how do you, sorry, we're kind of going off topic here, but this is good. How do you then, you can be empathetic and understanding of what people have got going on, but then you want to be the best and you want to win, right?
Yes.
Do you have trouble balancing those two things? Or is that something you think about? Like, do you have that real... So Lane Beachley, using that as an example, she was the best in the world and she was ruthless, as you just said. But then she's balancing her mental struggles. So what about you?
Well, I think you need to look at an athlete from a holistic perspective. And I think we're starting to see that more and more, and putting more of an emphasis on well-being and not just the physical aspect of the athlete, but holistically in terms of their mental well-being, their spiritual, cultural, what do they need to be the best they can be, because that's going to mean that they're going to perform. So I think you're right. It's a balancing act, but I think if you're providing the right environment whereby people feel safe and it's inclusive and they feel like they can be themselves, you then lower the chance of then having people not performing because they're not happy. So yeah, it's a bit of a balance in that regard.
So we go back to your journey, country camp, talent scouts, all of that. I've heard you say that you pretty much came into this system late. You're at Perth Glory as a 22-year-old, which you'd finished your degree at uni?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So that's not normal. Not
normal at all.
No.
And I think I started playing late, so it was only natural that I then got into this late. And I don't know anyone else who's followed the pathway that I followed. So I really thank my lucky stars. But yeah, I got in, I just graduated, and the same year I was asked to trial, and it was crazy. It was a whirlwind because I was trying to balance my professional career in the degree that I just got.
Which is what?
Which was sports science, exercise and health. And then also just kind of embrace and run with this opportunity with Glory. But I didn't know where it was going to take me. And so I was still very focused on pursuing my professional career. And for 6 years, I worked full-time and played full-time. So that was intense.
Didn't you play in effectively a rep side that played against the Glory and you beat them?
Yes.
Isn't that how you got on the radar?
Good research.
Isn't that how you got on the radar? I just think it's hilarious.
Yes.
Well, it's not hilarious, but it's
it's crazy.
Get a bunch of girls together and play against the Glory and they beat them.
Yes.
That's why I find funny.
No, it's crazy. Well, I will say, Glory didn't have their full squad. They didn't have their imports.
Leave that out.
They didn't have their, yeah, exactly. We'll leave that out.
You beat them.
We'll leave that out. But yeah, I was so honoured to even be selected for the state squad. I didn't start on. I started on the bench. And I got the opportunity to go on, and I went on as a midfielder. I have no idea what I'm doing in midfield, but I was like, let me on the pitch, just let me go. And then in the second half, I was put into right back. I'm a defender. That's my natural position. And I played quite well. And, I didn't know at the time, but I clearly did. And then we beat them, which was amazing. And then, a week later, I got a call from the assistant coach being like, we want you to trial. And I thought it was my mate prank calling me.
Oh,
wow.
I literally was like, is this Jess? And she was like, Tash. And I was crying. Even just be asked to trial was such an honour for me. And then the trial itself was wild because that's when Sam Kerr was captaining the team. Biggest player in the world at the moment, in my opinion. And so that was insane. Stepping into the change room, trialing for 2 weeks, training 5-6 times a week, which I'd never done before. And then, finding out that I got in.
Well,
so at what point then did you think that you actually, it's sort of self-deprecating a bit with your approach to it, but at some point you had to think I could actually have a chance at making this, it sounds like it was right up until that last sort of moment, right, that you thought that you were actually going to play?
It honestly was the last moment. Bobby Despotowski, the coach at the time.
Legend of Perth Glory.
Absolute legend. He is so fun, such a funny man. He pulled me aside and this is how much I didn't think that I'd got in. He was he hadn't, he was getting around to it and I was stop doing it. I was Bobby, it's so fine. I'm just so grateful for the opportunity. Thank you so much. Anyway,
So you're getting dropped.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I thought he was going to be thanks, but no thanks. And then he was shut up, you idiot. You got the contract. And I was like, stop it, Bobby. And I was bawling my eyes out. And he was just like shaking his head. If you know him, he's just like, oh, I'm so grateful for that man.
Well, I don't know him, and I can't remember hearing him speak, but if those are the same, is that a impersonation you've just rolled out?
I don't know. Don't tell him that. I hope he doesn't listen. I don't know if he called
He's
me an
actually
idiot
here. Come
or
out,
that's
Bobby.
just me. Hey.
He's actually here.
Yeah, welcome.
Welcome,
This
Bobby.
is your life.
Surprise, yes.
So you get put onto the list effectively, and it almost sounds like just listening to you, like I don't know, you're like a kid. You sound like an excited kid just to be there, right?
And I very much was, and I didn't think. The first game rolled around, and I was like, oh, I'm never going to play. Like, I'm just in the squad. And then I got selected for the first game, and then I went on for 10 minutes. And then the second game, I didn't get selected. And then the third game, I played 30. And then the fourth game, I played 90. And then I haven't missed a game since.
Has not missed a game
That's
since
crazy.
fourth game. I thought it was since debut, so you actually dropped after that first game.
I think I'm just trying to remember because this is what happened. He told me I wasn't in the squad second game, and then he rang me on the way to the game and said, "Go and get your boots."
What do you mean?
So I think I was a last minute inclusion.
What were you doing at the time he said, go and get your boots?
I was on my way to the game.
Right, and so you wouldn't. You're just in street
You're
clothes.
not
He's
in the
like,
suite,
turn
you're
around.
not-
No, I was in my polo.
Yeah,
He's
right.
like, turn around, go get your boots. So I think I was in the squad. And maybe I did play. I don't know. To be honest, I blacked out most of that. I was just like trying to survive. But yeah, I think, I've played almost every game since I started. Which is crazy.
So good, we're all
Yeah.
touching wood. I'm,
Yeah,
well,
thank you so
I'm
much.
sitting on a chair made of wood. So, okay, so at that time though, so what year is this? 20, when did you date?
16?
16?
Yeah.
So at that time, Sam Kerr isn't the global superstar she is now. She's in soccer realm, maybe. She's a good player. She's a captain of Perth Glory. But where she is now, I would say that Australia's greatest athlete, man or woman.
Love that, yes.
So you walking into a locker room with her at the time, she would still be, you'd be starstruck a little bit, right?
Yes. And this moment sticks out to me so much. I played with her when I was playing state. I was training in and around her, and I was at a camp with her. And back then, I think everyone still knew. Like, everyone was like, no, she's going to be the next big thing. And I just remember her because she was, like, so cheeky and so fun. And she used to call me Blue Eyes. And this was when we were, like, 15. And then I walked into the change room and I was like, no way she'll remember me. Like, I was literally a blip. And she saw me and she's like, Blue Eyes. And she like comes up to me, she like puts her arm around me, she introduces me to the team, and I was like, that is leadership, right? Like I felt like so seen, and I felt like I was able to like be myself and flourish, and like I was still so scared, but I was like, oh well, I know someone here as the captain, and she's pretty like
she's got my back.
well known, and she's got my back, and that like shows to me that's like, and such an important leadership trait to me, like humility, like no ego, like she just came up to me and just like welcomed me in, and that just was such a big moment for me.
That's cool. People would see the talent, right? People would see the goals, the bicycle kicks, Chelsea, all that stuff, but they wouldn't have ever been in a locker room with her. So she's a leader in that sense, right?
And down to earth, and still is. I saw her like a couple of weeks ago. She's now a Lego minifigure. Of course, she's the first Australian. There you go, like first out of anyone to ever become a Lego minifigure. And she walks in, I haven't seen her in like 4 or 5 years since Glory, and she's the exact same.
That's
Like,
pretty cool.
Yeah, so cool. Cool.
Okay, so your time there, like you said, you haven't missed a game. I'm going to stop saying that. Okay, I'm actually going to stop saying that. You played in the losing grand final pretty early on, right? You played in that game. Sorry,
2 losing grand finals.
16 and 17. So sorry, but we're going to talk about it because
Yeah,
that's
it's
big.
fine.
That's big moments,
Yeah,
grand
big
finals.
moments.
Reflections on them.
Yeah, I mean, amazing moments too, like of my most like incredible experiences in terms of my sporting life. And yeah, I just remember one of them, I was the sickest I've ever been. I had the flu. It was so hard. But when I stepped on the field, it just went away.
Yeah, but what's that like leading into it? Being sick.
Mentally like draining, like because you're, I don't know, you want to be the best you can be, but then you're absolutely exhausted, and training like in the lead up as well. But yeah, so cool. Like, so cool to be a part. And I think actually what was so amazing, I think for both of them, but one of them specifically, the semi was like the most epic semi, one of the best, like most incredible games I've ever been a part of. It was like, went to extra time. I think Sam scored a hat trick. It was like insane. We played like crazy amount of minutes, and then we had to play the granny, and we were absolutely exhausted. We had to travel. But like it had all led to that moment. I think the journey was what was so incredible as well. But yeah, no, it's surreal. Hey, it's just like, and it comes back to like being present and being in the moment and trying to be where your feet are is one of my favorite sayings, because it's just like all you have to focus on is where you are and where your feet are in that moment, and really like taking it in, because they don't come around very often.
You're a defender.
Yes.
That's why you're on here, actually.
Yeah.
You know about the captaincy.
Amazing.
We're big back fans. BackChat, you got it. So have you always been a defender?
Yes. Oh, actually, no. I started as a winger, and then I got promoted or relegated, whatever you want to say.
Promoted.
Promoted, of course.
I love defending though. Like, I didn't realize how much I loved it until I got moved there, and I love making a tackle, and I love like the grit of it. And
holy shit.
So
This is good. This is good shit.
So I played wing, and then when I got moved, it was actually my coach for UWA who moved me back, and I haven't looked back since, and I love it. It's
Correct. So you sound like a real defender. You're born for it, right? I mean, you're playing on the wing, but reality says you're always going back there.
Oh yeah.
What sort of, if you think about personalities in the team, saying we've got here at BackChat is forwards sell memberships, right? So everyone comes to the footy to go and watch them. Mids sign sponsorships, so it's the money bags, right? They got,
so true.
got the nice cars, spend a lot of time in front of the mirror, and well, forwards do too.
Yeah, I would say forwards do.
But backs win premierships, right?
Love that. Love that.
So does that ring true in soccer?
They hold the fort 100%. No, that is
It's
perfect.
almost perfection, right?
Yeah, it's
everyone
perfect.
comes to watch the forwards, to kick the goals,
Yeah.
the strikers,
Yeah.
midfield running around on the big bucks, going, "Look at me, how good's this?"
Yeah.
But the defenders are just getting it done.
Yeah, 100%. That's it.
What about like the dynamic between the lines of like the backs, forwards, and mids?
Yeah, I mean, we don't have as many players on the field as AFL, so we do have to be like, really connected. And it's funny because in NPL, like the state league that I play in at the moment, I have been playing a bit of wing. And I was just saying to someone the other day, I feel like I can play with so much freedom, and be creative and try things. Because like if I lose the ball up there, it's fine. I got my defender back behind me to look after it. You don't know, and I didn't realize the mentality. Like mentality-wise, I was like, I'm going on an adventure. Whereas when I'm at the back, I'm literally just like, just don't mess up. But yeah, it's funny. Like, and I feel like you do have such a different mentality. Like if you lose the ball in the back line, or if you don't do your job, it more than likely is going to lead to something pretty serious. So yeah, it's a bit different, isn't it?
So, I scored an own goal in the back line once. I used to play soccer. Balcata Soccer Club.
Stop it.
Was that your
Love
last
that.
game?
I played on the right wing, and then I went back, and the ball was coming across, and I accidentally kicked it, and it went straight like the corner,
top bins.
smashed it into the corner of the goals, and I was reeled flat. And the coach at halftime was like, "I don't want to hear anyone like being negative, Dan. Let's get around him." And I'm like,
It was a great goal, Dan.
Then went back there.
The wrong net.
Then went back there again.
How old were you when this happened?
15s.
Wow.
Oh,
So
Start. You want to lead anywhere with that, or are you just happy with that?
No, just
I love that.
happy with memories.
it's just you go back there and things can happen, like detrimental things can happen.
I'm trying to weave my way through our guest career while we sidetrack through.
What else have I done?
So 16, 17 losing grand finals. At some point, people realise Sam Kerr can play quite good football. She's taken away from the Perth Glory effectively, and the captaincy is vacated. You step in. What's that moment like?
Oh, so scary. Like,
Is it?
Incredibly exciting, but equal parts shit scared, if I'm allowed to swear. I'm just like, and to be honest, I think majority of it was like, I'm not ready. And you never really feel ready. Well,
How old were you?
20, I would have been 25, 26.
So you've only been playing at the highest level in Australia for 4 years?
And that's the thing. Like, I was still finding my feet as a player. You always are. But I was like really big time trying to just like kind of figure out my role. And then, it was huge. But yeah, I definitely felt really, I was intimidated and I was scared, and I've grown so much since then and learnt so much, and it's been like such a big journey for me. And the big thing for me was understanding my strengths, acknowledging my strengths and having self-awareness around my strengths, and then being able to identify strengths in others and empower them to lead, because no leader leads the same, and it's not one person's job to lead, it's the entire team. If it's just like, depends on the size of the role, but making sure I was able to identify what players were good at and how they could lead, because it's a collective, you know.
What's the process of taking on captaincy? Is it a team vote situation, or
at that time it was handed to me by like the coaching staff?
Right.
Yeah.
So diving in deeper to that, why did they make you captain? What are the reasons? No.
Come on.
No, okay. So
You don't get to shrug your shoulders.
It's a podcast. They can't hear you doing
Gotta
that.
talk about yourself. Yes, it's true. So I think I was appointed because, like I kind of touched on before, I really try, whether I knew it or not back then, I try quite hard to create an environment where people feel and players feel safe, seen, and able to be themselves. And I like to be like warm and approachable, and I love building people up. Like I love encouraging, and I have quite a positive mindset. So I think like those traits were like identified in me, and then that's maybe the reason why at that point in time.
I've seen some highlights of yours as a defender, and you sitting here and full of energy and pleasant and nice. I don't think you play that way. What's Tash Rigby like as the player compared to Tash Rigby the person? Because I know it's different.
It's very different, and I think as a defender, I'm like, all the time the commentators are like, tough as nails.
What are they
tough as nails. like when you hear it, you're like, oh my God. But like I don't go down easy. I go into tackles really hard, and like I put my body on the line. And I think the other thing is like I try to always be the hardest worker out there. So in training or on the field, like I'll do anything to work my ass off for the team.
Do you have to really focus to get into that mode? Like, is it something that you need to try to do, or does it just happen when you walk across the line?
I have too much energy, as I touched on. It's often bringing myself down because I literally had a game last night, and I was like over aroused, as you would say, because I had a coffee before the game, which was stupid. I don't really need coffee, but I get a bit too like it's almost like nervous energy.
Yeah.
Like I get nervous still for every single game, and sometimes they speak about like bell curve of arousal, and sometimes I think I'm a little bit too far the other way, and I need to
You've peaked, and then you're like almost over the edge, and you're overstimulated, and you're going to go above and beyond what you actually need to do.
Correct. Whereas sometimes I just need to take a breath, be present, and be more mindful in my approach, so that I can start the game like with a clear head, as opposed to like being overly emotional as well.
How do you do that then?
Yeah. It sounds like you've done quite a bit of work in the mindfulness space, just some of the language you're using.
I love I listened to, and I'm now obsessed with Emma Murray. I don't know if you know her.
Yep.
She works with Richmond Football Club, and some of her techniques are what I've modelled myself, over the last 2 years especially. And it also feeds into I'm obsessed with Legacy, the book by James Kerr about the All Blacks, and they speak about it a lot, having like a blue head versus a red head, and Emma Murray touches on being in your A game as opposed to being in your B game, and the big thing is having self-awareness around that. So like my A game to me looks like shoulders back, head up, talking, like clear mind, like there's no negative self-talk. My B game to me is when I'm in my head, my shoulders are slumped, I'm quiet, and it comes down to recognizing, because a lot of the time you can be in A game or B game, but you don't have the self-awareness to be like, oh my God, I'm in B game right now. I need to get myself out. So having a trigger, it can be like a physical trigger, like I know Richie McCaw in the All Blacks, he has like he looks to the furthest point in the stadium, or he like pinches his hand or something like that. And I do like a 4 tuck jumps sometimes to like, that's like my reset. So I know like if I am not in my A game, I can do that, and that like part of the game's behind me, and it's fresh start.
This sort of stuff's transferable from non-elite levels, right? Like there'll be a lot of people
100%.
listening that play sport. You can transfer this.
100%. It's absolutely not like it's amazing when you do it with like sport, but it's life. Like
And out of sport, right?
Yeah.
Be in a meeting.
Yeah.
You could be
Exactly.
driving
You
your
might
car with the hazard lights on.
no fuel.
Can I be present? Can I be calm? Can I be focused?
Am I in my B game? When you're doing public speaking, I used to love public speaking, and then I had a moment where I had a bit of like a panic attack and anxiety attack on stage. And since then, I've had to do a lot of work to get back to a point where I'm able to feel comfortable speaking in public, and that comes down to, am I in my A, am I in my B?
Right.
Yeah.
Can you speak about what happened with what did you just freak out and
Yeah.
lose what you're talking about?
I haven't actually spoken about this.
If you don't want to,
no,
you
I
don't
want
have
to. I want to. I was living my life too fast, which I often do, and I'd said yes to too many things. And I was on this panel, and I didn't feel prepared. But I was like, I live by the seat of my pants quite a lot, and I love I'm usually pretty good on the spot. And I think I just bitten off too much, and a question came up, and my mind just went blank, and I was speaking, and that's never happened to me. I love talking. And also it came from then a fear of judgment. And that's where it stemmed from. And then I was like, what's everyone thinking right now? And you wouldn't have been able to tell. On stage, I was like, oh, I just lost my train of thought, and then spoke about something else. But to me, inside, I had a panic attack, and I've never, ever had a panic attack before. And I'd never had anxiety, and I never understood what people spoke about when they were speaking about anxiety. And then all of a sudden it had happened to me. And I've done a lot of work to get to a point now where, with a psychologist as well, to get to a point now where I still suffer from anxiety, but I have the tools to regulate it.
Right. Your partner's an elite athlete as well. Does she know when you're A game, B game, sort of and rein you in a bit and say, hey, you're in the wrong spot?
100%. And I just made her listen to Emma Murray, so she's obsessed as well now. So we're both always talking about it. That's our vocab at the moment. But yeah, and Ange is, if you ever meet Ange, she's the most incredible, calm, composed, down-to-earth human being.
So this is Ange Stannett of the mighty Freo Dockers, AFLW team. Very good player, Daniel, and those listening along. So tell us about her.
Also a defender.
Correct.
Let's go.
Correct. Which I'm going to be honest. Hey, look, leave me out of your relationship, but 2 elite athletes, 2 defenders, I don't know how that works. Honestly, I could not marry a defender. I can tell you that right now. We're dickheads. We're dickheads.
True. It's
aren't
very,
we?
Ange is not though. So maybe she shouldn't be a defender.
Right. And I mean that in the nicest possible way.
Yeah, no, oh my God. I'm a self-proclaimed dickhead. It's absolutely fine.
So, how does that dynamic work? Both elite athletes. Look, again, I mean this in the nicest way. Being an athlete's selfish. It is a selfish occupation.
Agreed.
You put yourself first a lot. And for me, my partner, my wife, she counteracts that, and I have to have that. You guys are both doing your thing. That must be difficult at stages.
Yeah, it is difficult, but it also has amazing pros because you're with someone who can completely empathise with what you're going through and what you sacrifice.
That's true.
So it's amazing to have a partner that does understand that, because there's a lot of people that, all my mates that don't play elite sport, are well, why can't you come to the pub? And I'm I wish I could. But Ange, is so good in understanding, obviously because of lived experience, and it can be very hard. We used to be in season at the exact same time, and that was crazy because we would only see each other for 15 minutes in bed when we're going to sleep at night, because we're both, and that was also when we were both working full-time, both training full-time, leave the house at 6, get home at 8:30. You're just trying to survive.
Weekends you're both playing.
Exactly. Now we're opposite seasons, which has its pros and cons as well, because now we're in season pretty much the whole year. One of us can't
One
have
can
fun
go
together.
One can go to the pub, the other can't.
Yeah, correct.
That's what I'm really saying.
Yeah, that's all I'm thinking. Like someone's drinking while someone's
Exactly. So we have 2 months of the year where we charge. That's it. But no, it's.
Did you meet her at the Glory? Or did you guys? You were at the Perth Glory together.
We were, and we it's crazy because it was such a crazy environment in terms of the fact that I was in my first year and Angie's in her last. But Ange, she was still very young then, and she was training on, and she just got her first contract. But yeah, we didn't meet there. We met at state level. We played together for the same team, Queen's Park, in the state league. Yeah, that's where we met. But then we didn't connect till later.
She was drafted to the Freo Dockers that year, basically.
Yes, exactly right. Yeah.
And she's gone on strength to strength, genuinely, BackChat material as well, mate. We're talking Backman, Backwoman, not Backman, but you know what, Backman. She's just fucking, she's a gun, mate.
She's a beast.
She ravages people out of the field. I remember I spoke to her on the sidelines one time. I was doing the Fox Footy coverage, and they do sometimes I think they're pretty stupid. They put their headphones on one of the players, and you're talking to them about the game. Anyway, we're chatting away, and literally we're watching, and I'm chatting to her, and I'm watching the play behind her, and she's chatting away, and I'm like, oh no. There was a goal against Freo. She's turned around. She's like, right, got to go. Rip their headphones off. Charge back to the bench mid-interview. I was like, well, I think Andrew's back on the field.
That checks out so much.
Does that sound about right?
She's body on the line, and you'll die at this. They call her Smother Teresa.
Oh, that is so good.
Because
that is the best.
Oh my God.
That is the best nickname in football.
Smother.
That is so
she
good.
smothers every ball. When I heard that, I don't know who. I'm going to say it was Laura Pugh that came up with that name. She's so
That's
funny.
incredible.
But I was like, that is the best name ever. Oh my God.
Mother Teresa.
So good, eh?
I can't recover from that. That's the best thing I've ever heard. Smother. Holy shit. Okay.
That's great.
Quality.
Right, okay. So you're the captain of the Perth Glory. It sounds like you've done a lot of work in the mental space as well. How's your time been performance-wise as a captain? I think you were wooden spoon the first year.
Don't.
Sorry.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we've got to talk about it. So, yes.
Failure is a thing in sport.
Yeah, and it was so hard because that was COVID. Yeah.
Awesome.
So,
what a great year to be in.
What a great year. So here's the captaincy. Here's COVID.
Yeah.
Cool. So what ended up happening was we weren't even supposed to play in the A-League competition because State Daddy was like, borders closed. And so they were like, no, Perth isn't going to be. They were either going to say, we're going to be located out of Sydney, or you're not going to have a team.
Were you kind of in the same sort of situation as the guys? Because the guys were doing...
We ended up going into the hub the following year.
Right.
But that year was obviously when COVID had just started, everyone was just freaking out.
Yeah.
So they were like, nah, you're not going to have a team. So all of our players, our senior players, went to play elsewhere. So our Kim Carroll, Letitia McKenna, our big players went elsewhere. We didn't have...
What do you mean elsewhere?
Other teams in the league.
Really?
That were playing. Yeah, because Glory wasn't going ahead.
So what, they just ended their contracts or something? How did that even...
Back then we were only on 1 year.
Right.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So then, it was... And then also, we also get for imports as well. And that year, obviously, we couldn't... No one was coming in. We ended up getting some from New Zealand who were amazing. But it was just we then, 2 weeks before the season started, they were like, Perth's in. Yeah.
And everyone else had gone to other clubs.
Yeah. So then we had a homegrown, very, very local and very homegrown, young, inexperienced team on the field.
Culture-wise would have been good.
Yes.
Connection, good.
Amazing
Performance
because...
didn't get there.
Correct. And amazing for those young players who may not have... ever got an opportunity at that time to have an opportunity on the bigger stage.
Yeah.
So it taught us a lot, and we were the closest group you could ever imagine. Culturally, you hit the nail on the head. We had an incredible dynamic, but it was very hard. It was very hard.
Brutal.
Yeah.
You're putting, it's probably like West Coast is right now, to be honest.
Yeah.
Even though there's no COVID and they're just no good.
Shit.
Say that about your own team. So, okay, you come through that, and you guys are starting to build now, right? Performance-wise, you guys are getting...
Correct.
Improving pretty much every year.
So the other thing is Alex had just come on board that year as well. So we had a brand new coach as well. And He is amazing.
What a gift for him. Here you go. Here's a
and here you go.
Yeah, it's his team.
Enjoy. So he obviously, and it was his first opportunity as an A-League women's coach as well. So, and he has been incredible. And like, I think, what year is it now? I don't know, it's third or fourth year with him. And we have just gone from strength to strength every year, which is good. So last season, the season before, we finished equal fourth. Didn't get to, there's only 4 that make finals for us, and we missed out on finals from goal difference. Like, that was brutal. Real tough, but also to go, that was when we, like the season before, had finished bottom. So it's like, to go from there to there was like epic. And last season, we finished 5th by 1 point again. Like, and we had very good results against the best teams in the league. So like Melbourne City, we beat them at home. It was amazing. Like, so we've had some really like groundbreaking results, and like he has an amazing plan and vision for moving forward. So this season's only going to be even better.
How do you look at the league as a whole, from where you've come from your pathway? Like you said, not many people have done it your way. The professionalism within the league, the fact that your partner plays AFLW, comparing what they're doing in the sport. I know it's a big question, but overall, like how do you see the league, where it's positioned, where it can go?
Yeah. That's such a good question and so valid. And I think like the biggest thing is when AFLW came in, that's when we saw progression. AFLW came in my second year playing, and the jump in that, because AFLW were all of a sudden like, hey, this is the standard that we're bringing in, and it's our first year. And they were losing players left, right and centre to footy. So soccer had to do something, and that was when the players, the Professional Players Federation, they brought in the collective bargaining agreement, our first one that actually stated like we had a minimum wage. So that was the first like document to give us like standards that needed to be held. Yeah. So that was brought in, and then from there has been progression every single year. Like I said, I worked full-time and played full-time. So obviously the salary isn't in nowhere near like the men, or where it's at a point where we can not work. And like for me, I didn't work the last year, was my first year not working full-time, but that's only because I've been able to save over the years. And I was like, this is a short window of my life that I'm going to be playing like full-time professional sport. And I am in the financial position right now to be able to only work part-time.
So you're on the executive of the PFA, the Players Federation?
Yeah.
So if you forecast forward, how far away are we from full-time professional players across every team? Every player is full-time, only soccer. And you can ask the same in the AFL as well, to be honest.
Still quite a long way.
Yeah.
But hopefully the Women's World Cup will bring a lot. There's so much momentum around women's football, soccer across the world right now. Like looking at what Sammy's doing and looking at the Women's Soccer League in England, they are like, and the Euros, that got 90,000 people at one game. Like the appetite is there. It's just like awareness, promotion, sponsorship opportunities for our local league here. And hopefully what the Women's World Cup does is all the eyes in the world are going to be on Australia and this incredible tournament. So hopefully after this tournament, they say someone spoke to me the other day and they were saying like after every Women's World Cup, there's an uptake of 25,000 girls playing after that because...
And that would be anywhere, not just, and now it's in Australia. Yep. So that's going to be huge. Didn't I see you with the actual cup at some stage recently?
Yep. So we're doing a trophy tour around WA, which was so exciting. Got to go back home with it.
Where were you? You're in Busso, weren't you?
Busso, yeah.
Shelter.
Shout out Shelter. Yes. Shout out to Shelter.
BackChat Ale.
I love them. So
we're going to have to, just by the way, you're going to have a BackChat Ale. It's made for, one for the couch coaches, terrible tipsters, and backyard Brownlow medalists. This beer goes down easy to celebrate the wins and console the losses. BackChat Ale, the beer for during and after the game. it is made for defenders.
Yeah,
it's
it's
literally made for back.
Stop. I love it.
At one point in time, it was called the Backman Ale.
Yeah, correct.
That's a great.
But we wanted the girls to get involved too, so we took the men out of it. It's like
Love
BackChat
that.
Ale.
Love that.
So, okay, the World Cup tour. What are you doing? You're not touching the trophy, are you?
No, absolutely not. Bad luck, bad
cannot touch
juju.
that.
Don't do that. Yeah, so they're just touring it around. They came to Perth. They went to Kununurra, Broome and Busso, which is so cool just for the local communities to get the experience. I think they flew a lot of ex-Matildas, current players out to those regions as well to do engagements with the local community, which is awesome too.
What sort of exposure have you had to the Matildas? I think you're in some sort of representative squad. Maybe.
The eyebrows.
Maybe.
Yes, I did get the opportunity to try out. When was that? Last year or the year before? In a talent ID camp, which was awesome and an awesome experience because, it was just like, I think a week-long training and they were just like getting an idea of like, they brought in a lot of local girls in the A-League just to have a look at, which was awesome. But yeah, no, it's something that I aspire to.
Yeah, I was going to ask, is that the goal? Is that the goal of everyone to play the Matildas?
Absolutely. I mean, that's the best of the best, and to be able to represent your country would be absolutely incredible. But yeah, it's like you have to be an incredible player to do so.
Well, it's 10 players plus a goalkeeper. They're a player too, so.
Are they? No.
Correct.
This is like the ultimate defender.
Well, like the AFL doesn't have an Aussie team effectively. Like they do the stuff against Ireland, but you girls have got an opportunity to represent your country, but it's 10 people in the country.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
selection. It's difficult.
Yeah.
And then there's one right back.
Yes.
Maybe one on the bench. Maybe.
Yes. Like two defenders on the bench, maybe.
Yeah.
One, maybe sometimes. So it's hard to crack.
It's going to be huge for soccer and football in Australia, though, right?
100%.
This World Cup.
Yeah, it's going to be massive, and like to be able to have the best players in the world on our home soil, and for young girls and boys to be exposed to that and see these incredible players and athletes play, it's so inspiring.
Do you think? I mean, Sam Kerr, like I just said before, I think that there's probably a couple of other people in line with her, but I think she's like the highest performing Australian athlete right now. Do you think we see enough of her locally, and especially in Perth, but in Australia? Do you think that's made enough of a deal? I don't. If I'm asking myself the question, like having someone like that for women in this country, but for girls in Perth, I don't reckon there's enough attention or coverage, or I don't know what it is.
It'd be like having LeBron James games not being played in the States.
Correct.
Or something, like,
what do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree completely. And it's been highlighted to me specifically heading into this World Cup. Like, I am the target market.
Yes.
And I don't think I was seeing enough promotion around the World Cup.
Correct.
Now, maybe it's a bit better. But like now, it's like almost here. It's like 2 weeks away.
Yeah.
You're working with FIFA, right?
Yeah.
Denmark is in Perth right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like, no one would know that,
It's
which I think is poor.
Yeah. Well, I just think like promotion, like, come on. Like we have, and I heard it's the biggest sporting event since the Sydney Olympics. Like that puts it in perspective.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Like that is huge. Like why isn't this across every billboard in Perth? Like since January. Like I don't know.
Who's covering it? Who's the broadcast? Is it on Fox? Is it Foxtel?
I assume.
I mean,
it's a good question. Optus.
Yeah, but
like they're streaming.
Right.
That's
So it's got to be on. I don't know though.
But see, that's the thing. Like this is like you said, like some of the games over in America and England that I've seen of women's soccer in Europe, drawing huge crowds. I don't think we fully get it here in Australia.
No,
and we have the best player in the world.
Correct. And like you're so right. She should be everywhere. And like I don't know why her games aren't being played. Like like Chelsea's games aren't regularly like.
Just for people, just to put it in perspective. I know this is an interview about you, but for Sam Kerr, she is the Lionel Messi of men's soccer, right?
Yeah.
That's who she is.
Yeah.
Like she scores when she wants.
She scores when she wants.
Correct.
Yeah.
She plays for Chelsea. Is she the captain of Australia or not? She's not.
I think so.
So she's Australian. She doesn't have, I don't think anyway, in this country, the following like Lionel Messi does in Argentina.
Yeah, no. But it's also because like it comes down to, and like women's sport in general, like it's has so far to go in terms of like promotion, awareness. This is just like so classic. Yesterday, I'm like talking to a guy, and he's like, "Oh, you play for Perth Glory? Do they have a women's team?" I was like, "Yes, they do."
That must be frustrating, but you can understand it, right?
Yes, I can understand it, but I'm like, why?
Yeah, no, it doesn't make sense, but you understand, like you can understand the sentiment of someone being like,
yes,
because the coverage is
it's
there.
not there.
No.
Exactly, I do. I know. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's just, I think in general, like we have so far to go, and I think Australia has so many different codes competing. Like I understand that, but like you're saying, we have one of the biggest players in the world who's from our hometown. So like, come on, guys.
So Channel 7 has 15 key matches free to air.
All right.
The rest are on like Optus stream.
I'll cop that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd like to see some more, but that's okay. Did you run a marathon?
Half. I tried to run a marathon and then I tore my calf.
Really?
Yes.
Did you do that for charity?
Yes.
Is that what that's for?
Yes.
I mean, it is a good effort. I wouldn't be able to run a half a marathon, but
I actually.
did you do it during the race?
No, in my training just before. But the half,
Brutal.
I actually loved. Okay, I am one of those strange people that love running. I like literally, I know, yuck, ew, ick. But I'm like, I don't know, it's a nice release. And I just like, it's kind of like a form of meditation for me. But that's weird. People will hate that. They'll be like, what the fuck running? What do you mean meditation? But in that half marathon, literally went into like flow state. I swear to God. I was like, listen to Beyonce for the entire 1 hour and whatever it was minutes. I'm obsessed with her. I was like, what am I going to play? Like, this got to be motivating. And then I was like, this is Beyonce on Spotify. Listen to the whole thing.
Wasn't Bonnie Hancock listening to
Taylor Swift?
No, she was Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
Interviewed Bonnie Hancock. She kayaked around Australia.
That's huge.
Broke every world record, men or women, fastest days, fastest weeks, fastest time around Australia. No one's ever done it faster.
Beast.
And
fought off crocodile sharks, everything.
It's like, what are you?
Judo chop.
We're like, what are you listening to? Like, and she's like, Taylor Swift. Yeah. Oh, she's like literally the entire Spotify.
200 Ks in, just powering through with like Taylor in her ears.
It took her
a love story.
Exactly. She was out there for 8.5 months, so she had a bit of time.
Yeah.
Wow.
I want to put a bit of a bow on your sort of journey. Where are you at right now? What's the future look like? Where's it all at for Tash Rigby?
Heading into next season, just signed again, which is good.
Yeah.
Thank you. So 5th year as captain, and then
You're like an old duck in there now.
I am a veteran. And Kim Carroll, icon of the game, legend, just retired last season. So, I mean, I don't want to be the oldest player, but I might be.
So
Yeah.
that's how it goes sometimes.
It is. But yeah, hopefully on track to make my 100th game as well. Yes.
Nice.
Pull it back. Tell us about your first goal, mate, in your 90th game.
Yeah, we need
What
to
on earth?
Can't believe I didn't ask you about this.
I blacked out. I don't remember. I've always said if I scored, I would twerk. Like I always said that. And then I don't know.
As a celebration.
I don't know.
As all great defenders
And then, yes,
say, when I
classic.
score, I twerk.
Yes. And I was like, oh, it was so good. Like, oh my gosh. And it was a very me goal. Like, not goal, but like it was a very me, like, play. Like I intercepted, which I love doing. Intercepted, played Alana, Queen. She laid it off first time. And I scored first time, which was like wild. And then I don't know.
What'd you do? You didn't
I
twerk.
was like screaming. You should see the photos. Like it was insane. And my whole team was just like, it was just like this
That's
clump.
so good.
Ravaged.
Just screaming. Screaming. Oh, it's so good.
So if you score one, that's it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Hey,
it's more than
Do you want to score more, or are you is that your thing? Like just one goal?
Well, so in the state league at the moment, I've scored 5 goals.
from the right back.
No, I've been playing like wing back. It's like an almost hybrid role.
Great.
So I get to do both. It's
Right.
amazing.
Careful now. You'll find yourself out of the back line and then you don't know what to do.
No. Too far from home.
So sorry, I just interrupted. So captain signed on again for another year. What about away from football? Dreams, aspirations?
Yes, I don't know. Because I've stopped working for like full time in sport management, which I did and loved. I think I want to go into like the wellbeing space because I'm so passionate about that.
Yeah.
I would love to take up a role after sport in that realm. And I don't know, like, I feel like I need to be in a role after, like, I'm setting myself up now, obviously, because, like, I am in the later stages of my career, I would say, my footballing career. Still got a little while, but, like, I want to think about what's next. And I definitely need to be in a role that's, like, somewhat, like, team focused, because I just love the community and the connection that comes from that and being around others and in that high-paced environment. So, I don't know. We'll see what happens.
With when you just to backtrack a little bit, when you decided to go full time with soccer, right, for that season, what sort of what sort of changes did you notice happening before when you had to split your time? Like, did it sort of give you an insight to, like, oh man, this is how it should be?
Yeah, the thing is, like, it's funny, like, I was still working part time. So for me, I was training 8 till 12, and then I was working like 2 till 5. So it's pretty much still working 8 hours a day. But, like, that was not normal for me. That was, like, much better. And I smashed all my PBs. So I smashed my yo-yo, all my strength. And mentally, I was, like, I just had, like, a different clarity, because I was then able to still, like, maintain a relationship with my social network, which in season, usually people are just like, we'll see Tash in 6 months. Like, it's so... And I'm a very social person. I, like, lean on my friends and my family for support. And so it was very different when this season was still able to do that and still able to have, like, a healthy balance of everything in my life. So my overall happiness and satisfaction was just, like, so good. And I scored a goal, so it paid off, baby.
So this is what happens. I score.
Score goals.
Wow. I just listening to you speak. Never really spoken to you or met you before, and I think got a lot of listeners here. If you're in the sporting space, I think you could probably do a lot worse than having Tash Rigby around. You sound, I'm really impressed with just the outlook and mentality side as well. It's been cool chatting to you. Have you had fun?
I've had so much fun, guys.
We're not done yet. So
it's just the first hour. Second hour coming up.
Yeah, no. You've heard enough from
Part 2.
You've heard enough from Dan and I. We've got a little segment on here we like to call Social Media.
I saw that.
Yeah, well, it's very good because it's not social, it's social. One of the great podcasting segments around where we just get other people to do the work for us and ask you questions. So, are you happy for that?
Yeah.
Let's get to the people's questions. Travesty.
When are you going to follow in the footsteps of your friend and former teammate and switch codes to AFL and play for the West London Wildcats?
What is going on
This
here?
is Shiz. This is Shannon May, one of the greatest players I've ever played with. She was one of the most amazing midfielders and human beings ever. That's her. I think that was her partner that posted that. They moved to London and they've started playing, which is insane because, like, it's England, it's football, it's soccer.
Oh, they're playing footy over there.
But they're playing AFL and absolutely loving it. And she's chopping up. Like, she's winning MVP for everything. So they're like, you got to go to footy.
I like that a lot. Cooper Yates, __ didn't ask this.
Who will win the Women's World Cup? Let's say Australia is given.
No, if you want to say Australia. They're not favourites.
The Tillies, like...
They're fourth favourite right now.
There you go. They 100% can win it. Like, I have full belief. I would say, like, there's a lot of the big teams with, like, players that, like, are out at the moment with a lot of injury. So, I mean, the Lionesses are amazing, England, and I would say...
Like, the USA have a strong team.
Yeah, USA, yeah.
Brazil,
yeah. I would say the big ones are USA, England, Germany are always very good, and the Tillies.
Right. So you think Matildas can win?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I like it. $_bills.
Is there any? Are there any young rising stars that you see reaching the same heights as Sam Kerr?
It's a great question. We have some incredible, like, local talent, and we have Hannah Lowry, who plays for Glory, and she's just signed again. She is an amazing midfielder, and she was homegrown in where is she? Coburn as well, and
Shout out Coburn.
Yeah, go Coburn. She is on the so she's playing for the young Matildas or junior Matildas at the moment. She's on the radar. She is incredible. She is one to watch. Amazing human.
Say that name again.
Player. Hannah Lowry.
All right, there we go. Heard it here first. Julian R, 86.
How do we keep regional girls engaged in the game where the sport's largely male dominated?
Really good question. Very good question. I think creating spaces and opportunities for girls to play. When it comes to you're not always going to be able to have an all-girls team, as I experienced, but ensuring that you have the right people in the right positions, so like female champions as well, and women who are going to lift you up and support you, and men as well. And then infrastructure-wise, like even just having like girls' change rooms and like them being functioning, because like a lot of the times like you'll come like and go play a game somewhere and like the change rooms won't even be open. So like making sure like those little 1%ers we're catering to. And then when you do have girls playing in like mixed teams, making sure that they do have like a safe environment to play in where they feel like they can be themselves.
Swifty 41.
There's a global stereotype that men's soccer is a bit soft. How does that compare to women's?
If I'm honest, it's very different. If
Good.
you watch a women's like soccer game, no one goes down.
Like it a lot.
No rolling around holding the ankle.
No. It's like
Why
the
is that?
opposite.
Why?
I don't know. Like it's just something that we haven't like bought into. I mean, like
That's
there's game management, like, and like there's being smart. Like if you get absolutely cleaned up, like obviously the ref's gonna notice that anyway, though. Do you know what I mean? Like,
so can you talk about game management? So
game
that's a thing.
Game management is like if you are up of like, and it's the latest stages of the game. Walk to go and get the ball for a throw in, take the ball to the corner, protect, like doing things where, I don't know, you're wasting time, but smart in a smart way.
But then there's stuff in the 13th minute of the game and you get a tackle and you're rolling around on the ground. That's not game management.
No. And it will also, it's just like can break momentum. We'll just keep going.
Have you always had male coaches going through soccer?
Huge question. I have had no female coaches until like literally right now. So my first female coach is my state league coach at the moment for NPL. But prior to that, never. I've had assistant coaches, and for tournaments I've had a female coach, but not for.
Thoughts on that?
Speaks volumes in terms of like not only, I think now we're giving opportunities and upskilling women to step into these roles, but it comes back to visibility, and role models doesn't always have to be elite athletes, right? Like if you're aspiring to be the best coach in the world and all you can see are males, it's hard to like be what you can't see,
Because you need the quality there too, right?
Yeah,
you
exactly.
You can't just have women coaching women because they're women.
Correct, exactly.
They need the quality.
Exactly, but then they need to be given the opportunity to follow that pathway and to see it as a viable pathway.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Finish with this one's usually the finisher for us from the Eggman.
How do you like your eggs cooked?
I love that question.
Yeah.
Well, it's so funny because someone asked me the other day if I was a type of egg, what type of egg I would be.
What was the answer?
And I'll be scrambled, of course. Like, can you imagine what a poached egg? A poached egg has a very clean room.
Yeah.
Never lets their fuel get low.
Yeah.
I'm 100% scrambled, and I eat scrambled every day of the week.
Every day of the week.
No, not every day of the week. Sorry.
Oh,
like,
yeah, sure.
if I choose an
Sorry,
egg,
sorry.
I'm gonna eat.
I'm
It's
pretty.
okay.
I've been known to waver and like, so I'm happy having like sunny side up.
I've just as a side thing, I've heard Will say you could put a dead rat in front of me, I'd eat it. Like, so this man will eat anything.
He's a hungry boy.
No, it's not even. No, it's not that. I have zero care for what like I eat.
No, see that I cannot.
No, like literally, you could
What
put
is
like
wrong with you?
dead rat. But if we're talking drinks,
Okay.
I could just have a smorgasbord, a nice juice, soft drink, have a beer
Shelter.
there, like a little shelter, maybe a whiskey, coffee. Like you could line up 10 of them in front of me, and I'm like an aficionado.
Huge.
Food, just put it down, whatever it looks.
That's wild.
But the point talking about that is
Rogue.
I'm big time scrambled at the moment because someone said to one of these questions was I'm scrambled because you get more volume. And it's true.
Interesting.
Just think about a poached egg. It comes out like this.
Yeah.
Scrambled is like filling your plate. Like
Yeah.
you couldn't be getting more. I feel like there's
Yes.
like 10 eggs in scrambled eggs.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
fun.
You do one
What
scrambled
do you
egg,
mean?
it's small.
It's like, it's fun to eat. It's like, it's
Talking
a
about
party.
fun. You've been fun. We need to
big
wrap this
party.
up. We've lost the plot here. A very big thank you to you, Tash.
Thank you.
We are done. A huge thank you to you, our listeners. You can find us over at socials, BackChat_. Send us an email, hello@backchatpodcast.com.au. You can find it all over there, backchatpodcast.com.au. Our big thanks to our sponsors, our partners in Fleet Network, Swimply, Whippersnapper Whisky, Shelter Brewing Co., BlueBet, Leadable Cameras, Margaret River Roasting Co. I think I've done them all.
Yeah.
VIP
Shout out
codes
Perth Glory.
for our patrons, for all those guys. A big thank you to Perth Glory. Bloody good luck in life and in your season. And I'm wrapping this up. Bye-bye. Thanks, Tash.
Thanks, guys.